to Larry the Alchemist, where we discuss all things heavy metal and hard rock. On today's episode, let's discuss Triumph and their 1981 album, Allied Forces, their fifth release, and their late 82 in Canada, early 83 rest of the world released album, Never Surrender. Do you ever have a band that you used to listen to a lot when you were younger and then you just forgot about them? Well, that was Triumph for me. And what got me thinking about Triumph was I saw a YouTube clip for a documentary that I believe is out there already. It's called Triumph Rock and Roll Machine, released by Banger Films. They've brought us many awesome metal movies: Iron Maiden, Flight 666, Metal, A Headbanger's Journey. I couldn't find it here in the States, so I don't know if it's just only released in Canada at this point. Couldn't find a whole ton of information on it. Hopefully it will be released soon because it does look really cool. But when I was younger, I had both these albums on cassette and used to listen to them a lot, and then just sort of haven't listened to them in ages. And it was interesting going back and revisiting these records. Sort of my memories of them weren't exactly the same as when I started listening to them. I was a little bit surprised. Some for good, some for bad. Okay, Triumph, three-piece hard rock band from Canada. Of course, it's going to make comparisons to Rush. Rick Emmett, guitar, high, clean tenor voice. So that, of course, makes you think of Geddy Lee. I would say Geddy Lee's voice. I would say that Rick Emmett has a little bit more of a fuller tenor sounding, whereas Geddy has more of a high, shrieking kind of tenor sound to his voice. Gilmour on drums. He also sings. He sings lead vocals across a bunch of the songs across these two albums. He has more of a bluesy, hard rock voice, which is cool. I think it adds a different element to the band, something that Rush didn't have. And you also get some harmonies and stuff like that, times where they trade off lead vocals. And his voice with the more bluesy rock voice is a nice contrast to Rick Emmett with his sort of more high-pitched wailing type of voice. And then Mike Levin on bass. He also plays keyboards, so there's some comparison there. You got a bass player playing keyboards, you know, the Rush comparison. Allied Forces came out in 81. I was surprised at, I didn't realize how big of a hit Magic Power and Fight the Good Fight were. They were like number 8 and I think it was number 18, respectively, on the mainstream rock radio charts. And as I revisited this record, I was a little surprised. It wasn't as heavy as I remembered it. The guitar doesn't have quite as much distortion on it as I thought. Like my favorite songs and the heaviest songs on the record for me are the title track, Allied Forces, Fight the Good Fight, and the song Ordinary Man. Fight the Good Fight is, you know, Triumph is one of these bands that I wouldn't call them progressive rock. You know, they're nowhere near as progressive as what Rush was doing, but they sort of flirt with it at times. And Fight the Good Fight and Ordinary Man have elements of that, with the keyboard stuff at the beginning of Fight the Good Fight. They picked guitar. I love the main riff in it. I think the chorus is really cool in that song. The production was pretty good on the record. It was done by Triumph. I wish there was maybe a little bit more heft to the riffing. Again, that was sort of what surprised me a little bit. Like in my mind, I was thinking of that chorus in Fight the Good Fight, and I was expecting these really big, heavy guitars. You don't kind of get that. The guitars on this are mostly pretty clean. And maybe that's Rick Emmett and his influences. I know after Triumph, he did a lot of like jazz and classical type stuff. So, you know, maybe he was approaching it that way. And you get that, you hear that come through on the record here. Like there's an instrumental Petite Etude here, classical, like clean nylon string guitar thing. Reminds me a little bit of Dee from Blizzard of Oz, Randy Rhoads' you know, classical thing. And so you get a lot of that sort of here, picked guitar stuff, some clean guitar stuff. I maybe would have liked there to be a little bit more heavy, distorted guitar, but I think they picked that up on Never Surrender, which we'll get to here in a second. But there's some cool stuff on here. Fool for Your Love is kind of an AOR, heavy rocker type number. Again, the production is good. The drums sound really big. I mentioned Fight the Good Fight. There's that really cool drum fill, you know, right before the chorus. comes in every time. It sort of sets up the chorus for the song, which I think is pretty cool. Magic Power was the big hit off of this, and it's a melodic rock ballad, if you will. Hot Time in the City Tonight, did not like that one. This is maybe one of my complaints on this record. It's a little stylistically sort of all over. You know, it starts off very AOR, almost Foreigner, 80s Whitesnake rock type of thing. Then you get the ballad, Magic Power, and then Hot Time in the City is this sort of blues, rhythm and blues rock type one that just misses the mark for me. Ordinary Man I really like. This is probably the most progressive song on here. It also has Gil and Rick singing leads in this one, and it's the longest song on the record and moves through a lot of different kind of changes and everything. Say Goodbye, album ends with that, and that's a very poppy rock tune. So the album is sort of all over, and it doesn't always work for me. It doesn't work with Hot Time in the City, and doesn't work for me on Say Goodbye. It's just a little too poppy for me. But overall, you know, it was pretty cool and a fun listen. I really liked Allied Forces Air Raid. There's little intro to that, which is machine gun sounds, stuff like that. Was pretty cool. It sets it up. All right, then Never Surrender. This, I was surprised. This is heavier, in my opinion, than Allied Forces, and it's a little bit more focused with the sound, and I think that that's because they brought in a producer here, and the producer's name is David Thoner, so it's produced by Triumph, and the sound across the record is a little more consistent. The guitars are heavier across it, and I think that's why I liked it a little bit better. Too much thinking. Album starts with that. It's got these sound effect things which are interesting. You hear clips from Ronald Reagan speaking. Maybe that dates it a little bit, but it's an upbeat one and it rocks pretty hard. World of Fantasy is cool. It's got again some picked guitar stuff, and it's kind of progressive. It has a bunch of changes to the song. What else we got here? A Minor. Prelude is another instrumental guitar thing. All the Way is fun. Battle Cry is pretty heavy. That's probably one of the ones I like the most off of this. The title track, Never Surrender, is also kind of slow and heavy. It's got a nice chorus to it. I like that. The album kind of ran out of steam a little bit for me here towards the end. When the Lights Go Down, Writing on the Wall were just a little bit forgettable for me, but I think I like this one a little bit better because it was a little more consistent in the sound, a little heavier overall, heavier in the guitar tones and everything. All right, there you go. Triumph, Allied Forces, and Never Surrender, two albums that had them on cassette when I was younger, listened to them a lot, haven't revisited them in a really long time, so it was interesting going back and listening to them. Let me know what you guys think of these two records. Let me know what you guys think of Triumph. You got any records like that haven't listened to in ages, and then you go back and, you know, your memory of them is maybe not exactly what you thought they were going to be. Let me know in the comments down below. Let me know what you think of these two records, and until we see you again, make sure you stay heavy, stay metal.